Um, Hello, I'm Aishwarya from Fybaf. Today, I and my girls, Richa, Anshu, Simran, and Sri, will be giving a presentation on the study of impact of peer pressure on. It's normal for young people to worry about fitting in. Peer groups play an important role in young people's life, particularly during adolescence. Next slide. The objective of our project is to know about the types peer pressure and to know people's opinion on it and also to provide constructive suggestions. Peer pressure refers to the influence that these groups can have on how an individual thinks and acts. A young person can experience peer pressure in varying degrees. Sometimes their peers directly influence them to behave in certain ways, and at other times they may just be following along.
The causes of peer pressure. The causes of peer pressure include the need to fit in and at most of the time the need to feel safety and security from peers. Now peer pressure is most commonly found in 12 to 19 years of age. Now there are many causes such as fear of rejection, weak personality, bad parenting, social acceptance and avoidance of bullying. Fear of rejection. Many people in our society are also quite fearful of getting rejected. Weak personality, the weaker the personality, the easier it is for groups to influence and individuals to behave in certain ways. Cultural values. If you live in a quite conservative environment and there may be strict cultural rules which everyone is obliged to follow from an early age on, chances are there that you will be forced into certain actions due to peer pressure and unconscious manipulation. Bad parenting. Parents have a very huge influence on their children.
Types of peer pressure. First one is spoken peer pressure. Spoken peer pressure is when a teenager asks, suggests, persuades, or otherwise directs another to engage in specific behavior. If this is done in one-on-one environment, the recipient of the influence has a stronger chance of adhering to his or her core values and beliefs. Second one is unspoken peer pressure. With unspoken peer pressure, a teenager is exposed to the actions of one or more peers and is left to choose whether they want to follow along. This could take the form of fashion choices, personal interactions, or joining types of behaviors, clubs, teams, etc. Direct peer pressure. This type of peer pressure can be spoken or unspoken. Direct peer pressure is normally behavior centric. Peer pressure examples of these kinds of behavior would be when a teenager hands another an alcohol drink, or makes a sexual advance, or looks at another student's paper during a test. The other teen is put in a position of having an on the spot decision. Indirect peer pressure. Similar to unspoken peer pressure, indirect peer pressure is subtle but can still exert a strong influence on an young man. When a teen overhears a friend gossiping about another person and then reacts to the gossip, that is indirect peer pressure. Positive peer pressure. A group dynamic can be a form of positive peer pressure if the behaviors are healthy, age appropriate, and socially acceptable. Negative peer pressure. Asking a young teenager to engage in a behavior that is against their moral code or family values is a type of negative peer pressure. Teens see the actions of other teens with stronger personalities and are put in a position of following the leader or walking away. Thank you.
Impact of peer pressure. Positive impact. First, creates a sense of belonging. If your peers are always encouraging you to do the right thing and always supporting you, then it creates a sense of belonging with your peers. Second, providing useful advice and feedback. In times of stress and confusion, good peers often help you by providing their opinions, ideas, and feedback and help you in solving those issues. Third, bringing out the best in you. Your peers will always try to bring out the best in you and will always try to push you out of your comfort zone, leading to personal growth and self-confidence. Four, influence you to take up positive habits. Having peers that influence you to take up positive habits, such as learning new skills and developing a positive attitude, helps you to develop a healthy mindset. Next, negative impact of peer pressure. First, gives rise to insecurity. Peer pressure can create self-doubt within a normally confident person, thus giving rise to insecurities and affecting their overall well-being. Second, adverse impact on studies. Teenagers often try to fit in or do things such as not studying well or up to their full potential to impress their peers, thus negatively impacting their grades. Third, indulging in bad habits. Teens may often indulge in bad habits that they otherwise would not have picked up in order to feel accepted by their peers, leading to loss of one's individuality. Fourth, eventually leads to depression and anxiety. One of the major negative impacts of peer pressure is that it may lead teens into depression and cause a lot of stress and anxiety, pushing them into causing self-harm or even suicide in some cases.
Here are some facts listed about peer pressure on teenagers. So the first point says almost 30% of the teens are introduced to drugs when they are in their middle or high school. And the second point says approximate number of teenagers who are into regular smoking is over 3 million. And the third point says over 50% of the teenagers experience peer pressure to engage in sexual activities early on. Case study on peer pressure. The main aim of this study is to explore the peer pressure among the youth. For this, the investigators adopted the survey research method and conducted the survey in Madurai. A standardized questionnaire was used to quantify the data which was collected from the youth population. Introduction of the case study. Youth age begins from 13 years at school, and it is a time of transition that includes the gradual move from family-oriented to peer-oriented activities. Observations of the case study. The right direction of peer pressure results in better outcome on the part of youth behavior, participation in the society, and in development of nation as a whole. But negative peer pressure also impacts a lot in the productiveness of youth in the society. Despite general recognition of the existence of peer pressure, it is still a phenomenon that is not well understood. These were the findings of the case study. Since the survey was conducted in Madurai, there were two major findings. Number one, that the youth in Madurai area has below average level of peer pressure. And number two, that there is no significant difference between male and female youth and rural and urban youth in the level of peer pressure. So here are the lists. This is a methodology. Data collected for this project have been done from two major categories: primary information, so survey conducted and data collected through the field, and secondary information, referring to various sources on the internet such as news article, research paper, etc. that have been listed in the bibliography. Sampling procedure, quantitative data was used which was derived from a survey and responses were collected from over 35 respondents on various questions. Analysis, simple analysis of data was done through graphical representation in the form of pie chart for each question, where the total number of responses was depicted in the percentage form for each option. Survey data analysis. The first question is, how comfortable are you with your group of friends? So as we can see, 68.6% of people are very comfortable sharing their problems and can be themselves, which reduces their peer pressure to act a certain way. Aishwarya.
I was on mute. Have you ever engaged in bad habits out of peer pressure? As we can see, 70.1% of people have engaged in bad habits out of peer pressure, while 82.9% of people have never engaged in bad habits out of peer pressure. How often do you conform with your friends' decisions? 34.3 people conform with their friends' decisions, while 65.7 people do not conform with their friends' decisions.
Next question. Do you think that peer pressure can have a lasting impact on a person's psychology in the long run? A vast majority of people agree to this question that yes, peer pressure can have a lasting impact on a person's psychology in the long run, and a small amount of people, about 25%, disagree with the same.
Question 5. If there was one quality that you would change about your friend, it would be more supportive, more honest, or more accepting. As we can see, there have been equal votes for changing the quality of their friends. So somewhere we all need to be more supportive, honest, and accepting.
So the sixth questionnaire was, is peer pressure stopping you from being you? And 50% of the people are neutral on this topic, that peer pressure is stopping them from being their true self, whereas 35% are 35% disagree. And the seventh questionnaire is, has peer pressure affected you in a positive way? And only the majority people agree that peer pressure has affected them in a positive way.
The next question was, do you have friends that influence the way you think? Around 47.1% agreed that yes, their friends do influence the way they think, whereas 38.2% were not sure about it, and a 14% obviously denied it.
The next question is, how often do you do things to be a part of the crowd? A vast majority of the respondents rarely ever did things to be part of the crowd. Some of them often, some of them never, while the rest of them did it every time. The next question is, have your parents or guardians warned you about peer pressure? Most parents or guardians have either directly or indirectly warned their kids about peer pressure.
The 12th question is, do you act differently when you are with your friends than when you are at home? Pure majority of the people agree that they do act differently at home than when they are with their friends, while others disagree with the same. Conclusion. Peer pressure can certainly affect you in the long run, and knowing how to say no to certain things can be really helpful to you. Suggestions. Check in with yourself when you are unsure about something. Ask yourself, how am I feeling about this? Does this seem right to me? What are the pros and cons of making this decision? This was the bibliography collected by our team. Thank you so much for listening.